Good afternoon. Welcome to Cooking with the Council. On this segment, we have Cedar Creek Brewhouse and Eatery and Councilman John Norwood. We're excited to see what they're going to cook up today with the okra and aioli sauce. And before we go into the main dish, I'm going to talk a little bit about Councilman Norwood, and we have Jeff Dietzman with Cedar Creek here, Cedar Creek Brewhouse. So Councilman Norwood was elected to the City Council in 2015 for the City of Farmers Branch, and for all of these years, he has served us well. But before he was with the City of Farmers Branch, he had a long career with the Army, and before that, he went to West Point. So these are just little facts about Colonel Norwood that you might not know. But before he was Councilman Norwood, he was called Colonel Norwood. So Colonel Norwood, can I ask you a little bit about your military background and how you served in the Army?
Ask away.
Okay. Tell us, I know you spent most of your career in the military, so tell us exactly what were you tasked with doing? I've seen some images about the new uniforms that rolled out in 2001. I'd love to know a little bit more than that, because that's not your typical Army fatigues that we grew up seeing.
Right. So I was, as you said in your introduction, I went to West Point. And after West Point, I was commissioned in the Corps of Engineers. And so I served in both a construction engineer battalion and a combat engineer battalion. And then I had multiple assignments until I was offered grad school. And I ended up going to grad school at Rice, where I got a master's and a PhD in mechanical engineering. And that kind of overqualified me for the engineers. So I transferred into a new branch that the Army was making called the Army Acquisition Corps. And the Army Acquisition Corps, they procure, they manage, they develop large systems, and they field them to the Army. And so in my final assignment, I was the program manager for soldier equipment. And I got tabbed to be the PM for soldier equipment right as the Iraq War was kicking off. And so I spent 3 years that went by in a blur, but I changed and fielded to soldiers every piece of new soldier equipment that they fought with in the Iraq War. And one of those was the uniform. And so I think on the picture that you're going to show, you see the new Army combat uniform, which was a digital pattern, and it was specifically tailored to be good in fighting in an urban environment.
Gotcha. Well, we thank you for your service to the country, as well as your service to the City of Farmers Branch. Speaking of combat war, I understand you did raise 2 girls, right?
Yes, I did.
That is not easy. And one of them also has little children for herself, and those ages aren't easy. So I feel like you're really prepared in this role of life as well.
Yeah, it's great to be a grandparent because you get to take care of them during the day and then you give them back at night.
Yes, I can't wait for that stage.
Yeah.
And can I tell you, I understand that you were in the Pentagon building on 9/11. Is that a true story? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Allison, it is true. And yeah, it was a very emotional time on 9/11. So I was working in the Pentagon, and the Pentagon, as its name implies, has 5 sides, and it's divided into wedges. So there's 5 wedges that make up the Pentagon, and there's 5 rings. So there's the A, B, C, D, and E ring. And I worked on the E ring, which is on the outside, and that's where all the senior Department of Defense officials work. And my buddy and I we were aware of what was happening at the World Trade Center. Yeah, so my buddy and I were looking out the window because the E-ring is the only one that has the window. And we were aware of what's going on at the World Trade Center. So our window looked out over National Airport, and we said, wow, if a plane took off from National, it could crash into us. And about that time, there's a loud explosion. And we were in the direct line of fire. We were 2 wedges over. So out of the line of where the airplane hit. But in about 30 seconds, one of our administrative assistants comes charging through the door, and there's smoke rolling in, and we were told to evacuate the building. The alarms are all going off. So I shut down the office, evacuated our people safely, and then made sure that the guy I was working for, who was the 13th ranking civilian and the Pentagon, got safely away from the area. And so we were okay, but by the time we were evacuating, the ceilings were already on fire. And so it was just one of those terrible, terrible times. And but the interesting detail of that is that the Department of Defense declared the Pentagon a combat zone. And so what that means is there was a combat zone in the continental United States. And if my military history is correct, we haven't had a combat zone in the United States since the Civil War. But for that one day, that awful incident, we had one.
Now, is that what prepared you for Camp Gladiator and that T-shirt that you had to do special things to get? Can you tell us about that?
Oh, Camp Gladiator is much harder than the Army, I tell you that.
I know, I've done it, I've seen it, and I know what you had to do for that T-shirt, so tell us about that.
All right, so actually my wife Leslie was a member of Camp Gladiator for 9 months before I joined, and so she's a real expert on Camp Gladiator. But I finally got off the couch and joined the program. It's a fitness program for those of you that don't know. It's all over the Metroplex. There's over 1,000 sites in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that you can, about 1,000 sites that you can attend Camp Gladiator any day of the week except for Sunday. And you work out really hard for an hour, but it's a lot of fun because you meet some great people and you really form some strong relationships. Right now I'm dangerously close to my 400th workout, and I got this shirt because I did the 6-week challenge, and we had to do 18 workouts in 6 weeks, and I did it in 3.5.
Well, I am not surprised by that. And I have seen Leslie out there, and she's quite fierce. So
she is.
She is. Y'all are a hard duo to keep up with, that's for sure. And Jeff, I met you and some of your partners with Cedar Creek Brewhouse and Eatery a while back when we were tasting a pastrami sandwich and some other delicious things, and y'all were talking about beer pairings and your love of making beer. And so I'd love to learn more from your words about the partnership forming Cedar Creek Brewhouse and Eatery, which is going to be at the shops at Mustang Station at Valley View Lane and B Street. So tell us a little bit about this new concept.
Yeah, so our first restaurant concept was LUCK. It's an acronym, stands for Local Urban Craft Kitchen. And when we opened in 2013, we kind of saw the rise of craft beer and wanted to do something to help support it. A lot of restaurants weren't carrying local craft beers. It was really hard to get tap space, especially in big chains. And we thought, well, let's open a restaurant and dedicate it to local craft beer. And we came up with a 75-mile radius. We called it the Bermuda Triangle. And it was 7 Points, Texas, where Cedar Creek Brewery was, out to Granbury, where Revolver was, up to Sherman, where 903 Brewery was, and back down. And we said, anywhere within the 75 radius of our restaurant, we will carry their beer, and we will only carry their beer. And at the time when we opened in 2013, that was a pretty novel concept, and we got laughed at a lot because there were only 9 breweries in that 75-mile radius. But we had 40 taps. And if you asked me then why we had 40 taps, I said, well, I think maybe one day there will be 20 breweries in North Texas, and we'll dedicate 2 taps to each brewery on the tap wall, and it'll be this beautiful utopia. And I was partially right. I think by our second year that we were open, there were already more than 20 breweries, and now there's like 84 in North Texas. But we've had a partnership with Cedar Creek and the local beer scene since 2013. We were always looking for our next venture, and Jim Elliott, the owner of Cedar Creek Brewery, came to us years ago and said, my beer sells really well in South Texas, it sells well in East Texas, it sells well in Oklahoma and Georgia. I'm having a hard time finding a foothold in the Dallas-Fort Worth marketplace. Would you all want to partner and do a brew pub? we said, yeah, that sounds great. I home brew and I'd like to be able to play with the big boy equipment sometime. And so I thought, yeah, that's just a natural partnership, especially as the beer laws were starting to change and you could sell beer to go and things like that. And so we started working on this partnership probably 4, maybe going on 5 years ago now. And we're just, we said we're going to do the deal, but we want to wait till we find the right spot, the right partners. And so that ended up being the shops at Mustang Station, everything the Westerns brought to the table, all the help we've got from the City of Farmers branch. It really felt like just the deal that we'd waited 5 years for. And I'd say we haven't, we've really felt the love from the city, from the residents, all the events that we've done leading up to the construction. It's like I said, it took 5 years to find the right place and the right time and the right people, and I think we found it. So we're really happy and excited.
Excellent.
And glad Jim took it 5 years ago and brought us the idea.
Well, speaking of Jim Elliott with Cedar Creek Brewery, he was a former teacher at R.L. Turner, which is the local Farmers Branch High School. So
Correct,
that's a bit interesting news when we discovered that connection. So can you tell us, Jeff, today, what are you guys going to be cooking and what do I see sitting out on that table?
So this being my first Zoom cooking demo, I wanted to try to keep it pretty easy, pretty simple. I didn't know John's long history background until just now. I'm confident I could have thrown something a lot harder at him this time, but for the first online cooking demo, I thought we'd start with something easy, something summary, something that's easy to whip up. As soon as you watch this video, you go down to the shops at Mustang Station, go to Cox Farms Market, grab a few simple ingredients, and you could be eating this as part of your dinner. So it's our charred okra appetizer. We serve it with a few slices of lemon, it's a grated Parmesan, and then we make a spicy chili de agua aioli, which is a mouthful with spicy mayo.
Sounds delicious. Well, I don't want to keep you guys. Please get started and let us know along the way just exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, you bet.
Excellent. Excellent. So John, are you ready?
I am ready.
Great.
Even though I have a few cooking skills.
That's okay.
So the second location of Cox Farms Market was really close to our first restaurant, Luck. It was in the Sylvan 30 development, just a few miles away. So we got to know Cameron and his dad really well. And it's actually, okra is probably the one ingredient that I bought the most of from Cox Farms Market. It's a very popular appetizer. We would run out of it on the weekends. And the cooks would say, hey, we've got to 86 the okra. We're all out. Said, no, we're not all out. And I'd hop in the car and I'd run down to Cox Farms Market. I'd go walking right in the door. I'd go all the way to the back. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I'd see if I could find somebody back there. I'd say, I need a case of okra. And you need to text Cameron and ask him how much it cost. And so they'd bring me a case of okra. I'd walk to the text register. Someone would shout, $32. And they'd ring me up right there for a case of okra, and I walked back out. And I can't tell you how many times I did that over the last 6 years. So once again, just being in the same shopping center as Cox Farms Market, having our long relationship with them, and okra being the thing that really brings us together all the time. That's perfect for us. So we've got some fresh okra here. Very good. So I like to use the whole okra for this recipe. Leave the stem on. Kind of think of it as a tail on a shrimp. So it's what you kind of hold on to as you dip it in the aioli and then you eat it. If you want to just eat the whole thing, the stems are edible. Or if you don't, if you're going to plan on using a knife and fork or something for this, and you can trim them off. To get started, just get you a small mixing bowl there, John.
Okay.
We'll toss the okra in.
The whole pound?
I think for this, we could probably just do about half.
Okay.
And you can make this for somebody else later in the week.
All right.
Put the okra in the bowl.
Yep.
I get a little olive oil.
How much is a little?
We just want enough to lightly coat the outside. So I'd say maybe 2 tablespoons.
Okay, now I mix them up with my hands or what?
So I'm gonna use a spatula just to keep my hands clean, but you could certainly use your hands, or you could get a little fancy and just swirl them around a little bit.
All right, you know, I watch Top Chef, so I see them using their hands on that.
Maybe do a couple flips here.
Oh, that looks good. Yeah.
And then a little salt and pepper. And because this is going to go in a hot grill pan, you can go pretty heavy. You can be pretty generous with your seasoning.
Okay.
Salt, pepper. And get that all mixed up. And I'm going to let this sit to the side. I'm going to let that sit to the side just for a second. Make sure all the seasoning sticks to the okra and that oil seeps in just a little bit. So we'll just let that rest.
Okay.
And then if you want, you can go ahead and turn on the heat on your grill pan, and then find another little small pan, and we'll toast our Arbo chilies in this. So we're going to want the grill pan to probably we want it to be pretty hot because we're trying to recreate an open flame grill. So I'd say probably we'll go medium high right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's about right. Good.
And then just a small little saucepan or something just to toast our chilies in on about the same heat.
Okay. Got it going. Have my chilies.
So we're using Arbo chilies today. The home recipe we came up with called for about 1/4 ounce, which is about half the bag. I'm going to start with a little less than that because they do tend to be pretty spicy. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I pulled 10 out of the bag. And I believe you and I stopped at the same spot, so we've got the same chilies.
Okay.
And those are going to go right into that hot pan.
Okay. Right now?
Yeah, so we've got our chilies in our pan. You toast chilies like this, it really brings out a nice smoky nuttiness to the chili flesh and adds another dimension to the flavor. And they'll toast up pretty quickly, so you'll want to either use some tongs to move it around, or even if you just want to hold the pan and shake them around a little bit. We just want to get some nice little black spots, just a little bit of blistering on the outside.
That's a cool thing.
We don't want to turn them into charcoal, but
okay, mine is starting to get a little bit black.
yeah, so once it starts getting those black spots, you go ahead and take it off the heat. You might get a few seeds that pop out there.
Yeah, I got
take
some
it off
seeds.
the heat. Yeah, so we'll just take that pan off the heat.
Okay.
And we'll put the chilies in the cutting board.
Okay.
And so we're just going to kind of rough chop these chilies and put them in a small bowl, and then we're going to juice our lime, and we're gonna let the chilies, the dried chilies, rehydrate in that lime juice.
Okay.
So just a rough chop on the chilies.
Just a rough cut?
Just a rough cut. We just want to make it small pieces. And if you like spice, feel free to leave the seeds in. If you want a little less heat, you can start leaving some of the seeds out.
Got seeds popping all over the place.
I think I told you earlier, I've got 2 beers here. I've got my cooking beer. This is a Starman. It's a hazy IPA from Cedar Creek Brewery down in 7 Points. And then for when I eat my okra, I've got their Imperial milk stout called Excelsior. And both of those beers are available at the Cedar Creek Brewery right now, down in 7 Points near the lake. And you can come and you can get growler fills, you can get crowler fills, you can get 4-packs and 6-packs to go. can go down to the gym and tell them I sent you.
Well, I got to tell you, I like milk stout a lot. So that would probably be what I would order on this.
And the Excelsior is a really good milk stout. It's really not too sweet, and it's about 11% alcohol and doesn't drink like it. So make sure you don't drink it when you're outside mowing the lawn.
Okay, now I've got my chilies in the bowl. So now what do? The lime juice?
Right. So we're going to juice our lime. I think we can probably get away with just half a lime.
Half a lime? Okay. I got 1/2 juiced. One juiced? Okay. So I have a whole juice, about half of it.
Yeah, I poured this lime juice into a shot glass here. I'm going to probably start with about half of that. I put tequila in the other half.
I got some tequila if you want me to put it in there. So.
And then I'm just going to kind of pat down those chilies into that lime juice so they can all get wet and they can kind of start rehydrating a little bit.
Okay.
You can really kind of push them in with your fingers if you need to. This will rehydrate overnight, but I want to get them a little soft before we blend them up. And as they take on some of that lime juice, you'll really start feeling a difference in the texture.
Mm-hmm. So you would leave these in the refrigerator overnight? So,
You could do this the night before. Normally, I would make the aioli and let it sit overnight to let all the flavors meld, and then I would serve it the next day. It might be something you do the night before if you're gonna cook your okra for dinner the next day. You can certainly serve it right as you make it. I just for sauces and soups and stews and things like that, I always feel like they're better the next day.
Yeah.
All right, so the pan's nice and hot. We can go ahead and throw our okra on.
Oh yeah, this one.
This is our what we call our charred okra appetizer. So we are going to get a good char on this okra.
Okay.
If it gets too smoky, I'm going to have to turn on my Vent hood here.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to do that too. So we do this too. How about that?
I've got a downdraft Vent hood in my island, and so it comes out of the middle. So it blocks the grill right now, but I'll put it back down in a second. While we're waiting for it to char a little bit, a lot of people don't like okra because they consider it to be slimy. And that can be the case if you've had okra in soups or gumbo or things like that. So what we do is we throw it on a really hot open flame grill, and that does two things. It chars the outside, which gives it a nice smokiness, but it also helps dehydrate it a little bit. And it's a really pretty quick cook. And so we're not cooking it for a long time to break down all the inside of the okra and to make it slimy.
Yeah. I like fried okra. That's my favorite. So.
Once again, that's a quick cook, right? So when we do this at the restaurant, we actually let the flames come up and kiss the okra and really get a nice char on it. Grill pan, indoor cooking is just going to take a little longer.
Yeah.
While the okra cooks, if we want to just do a little knife work, we could cut a few lemon wedges.
Yeah,
maybe measure out a cup of mayonnaise.
How much mayonnaise?
Let's do a cup.
And
I don't think
does
we
it
need
go
a
in the,
whole
where do I put it? Does it go in with the chili?
So I would get you a bowl maybe this size. Put your mayonnaise in, and then we'll add the chilies in a minute. I'm starting to get some nice grill marks. Just turn them every once in a while.
Okay, I got a cup of mayonnaise. So do you use a certain type of mayonnaise, or you make your own, or?
I made my own mayonnaise earlier in the week, I did a brown butter mayonnaise, for some crab toast that my wife wanted. I generally do not. Just any good quality. I'm using a Kensington's organic mayonnaise here at the house. Duke's mayonnaise is a very popular brand. A lot of people use.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, Jeff, because part of my family is gluten-free. So what will you have on the menu at Cedar Creek that they can eat?
So the okra is a perfect gluten-free option for sure. As long as they are not, we have our sweet and smoky glazed wings is also gluten-free. We're actually working on retooling the menu right now, the opening menu. In times of pandemic and things, we need to kind of reevaluate things that work better in a to-go or a delivery fashion. And so we're currently under development for that right now.
Okay, good. Well, we'll be interested to stop by and test out your menu.
Absolutely. I'm starting to get a really nice char on these.
Yeah, so am I.
Show the camera here. You know, kind of, which is what we want. Like I said, we want to get a nice char and a nice smoky flavor. Everybody likes stuff hot off the grill. But then, like I said, we also want to dehydrate that outside a little bit without cooking it too much in the inside. We want a little toothsomeness. But we definitely don't want to cook it so long that it gets slimy.
Yeah, definitely right.
And so these are, I've never done this on a grill pan. I didn't know how long it was going to take, but I'm on some pretty high heat right now. I cranked her up to 9 out of 10. So
yeah, I cranked mine up pretty high too. So.
We remodeled our kitchen when we bought the house 3 years ago, and I'm finally getting to show it off online. So.
All right.
Hey, John, I didn't know you were an engineer. My day job, I'm actually a consultant electrical engineer. I've got an electrical engineering degree from A&M.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, I'm a mechanical engineer.
I wasn't tough enough to be in the Corps, though. I wouldn't have done well at West Point.
Uh-huh.
That getting up at 5 a.m. and running every day, that was a little much for me. And so careful not to burn yourself. I'm kind of pressing down on the okra.
Okay.
You know, outside's really starting to soften, but you can still feel that the inside's firm. And that's what we want. If we start feeling that inside gets squishy, we want to make sure we take it off the heat. And so if you do this on an outside grill, charcoal grill, gas grill, something like that, it really is a pretty quick cook because of the oil that we toss the okra in. It'll really flame up on you, but that's okay. We want that. We just want to make sure that we don't burn them.
Yeah.
Mine are just about done. I'm gonna kill this heat so I can turn off the vent hood. While my okra's still hot right here on my plate, I'm gonna hit it with a little grated Parmesan.
Okay. I got it right here. Just a little bit of it, or?
You know, I'm a big cheese guy, so I'm pretty heavy-handed with it.
All right. I'm not so big on cheese, so I'll do a little bit less.
You do a little bit. We'll serve it on the side when you come in, all right?
Good.
I've got a couple lemon wedges here. And when we serve this, we really encourage the guests to, as soon as they get to the table, it's still kind of hot. The cheese is starting to soften up a little bit, to squeeze the lemon all over there. And it's really, lemon and Parmesan is a nice combination, but you've got the earthiness and the smokiness of the charred okra. Parmesan's got a nuttiness to it as it is, and then you hit it with the lemon, and then cheese and lemon will kind of form just a little bit of a paste that sticks to the okra, and it makes it really good. It's a super simple dish as far as that goes. It's olive oil, salt, pepper, okra, grated Parmesan, and lemon, but it really is a nice dish, especially when the okra's fresh and it's in season like it is now. So if we've got our mayo, we'll go ahead and put our mayo in the bowl. I think you're ahead of me there.
Yep.
And you know, all of these recipes, the recipes are just it's just guidance. So you want it a little spicier, add more arbol chilies. You want to add less spicy, add less arbol chilies. You want a little bit more acidic, more lime juice. We always salt and pepper and season to taste.
Uh-huh.
My chilies are really now rehydrated pretty well. They're nice and soft. They're not hard and brittle like they were before.
Right.
And so I'm a fire eater, so I'm going to go all of them in.
You just put them in like this, like they are?
Mm-hmm.
You were trying to get, what about the extra lime juice?
So I'm going to hold off on the extra lime juice until we taste it. So we'll make the aioli and then we'll taste it. And if we think we need to adjust the acidity in it, we'll use that extra lime juice. This aioli is really good on the okra. I love it on the okra. But it's good for anything to dip in. Carrots, celery, vegetables, things like that. We do normally make it pretty spicy, and not everybody likes that much heat. So normally there's a warning, hey, this is delicious. We encourage you to eat it, but it is spicy, so let's keep it on the side. And I take the garlic cloves out of the skin, put them on my cutting board. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the flat portion of my knife to smash them down, smash them flat. And I'm going to take a little bit of salt and sprinkle it over my garlic cloves. And you'll have to trust me because you can't see it, but I'm just going to use the flat part of my knife and I'm just going to smash and pull the garlic. I'm just going to break it all down into a fine paste.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, mine are already pasted because I just dumped them in.
There you go. So I'm just going to turn mine into a fine paste just so it's easier to mix.
Yeah.
Use my knife to pick up all that wonderful roasted garlic paste. And then go straight into my bowl with my mayo.
Got it.
And my chilies. And then I think you've got a immersion blender there, stick blender, a boat motor like in the restaurant. And so we're just going to simply blend this together.
How do you know when you're done?
All right. So we just want to make sure the chilies are all blended up. That way you don't get too many stuck in your teeth. So just probably no more than a minute or so of blending. Spoon that into my ramekin here. Wipe my edge.
What are you doing?
Oh, I spooned some into my ramekin and I was wiping down the edge. I got some on the edge.
Oh, okay.
And I'll do this number right here real quick. There she is.
That looks
Right.
wonderful.
All right. Can you see mine?
So you just dip it in. And
Yes. That looks great, John. That looks great.
All right, here we go. We're going to try this thing.
squeeze the lemon off.
That's good. I like the char on the okra.
It really makes a big difference. To go with my charred okra and my spicy chili de árbol aioli, I've got an Imperial milk stout here called Excelsior. And it's not as sweet as you would think of a milk stout. It's a little bit more dry, but it goes really well with the spice of the aioli and the char of the chili. So I'm going to try that one right now.
And Councilman Norwood, I know you like a dark ale. Is that right? What's your favorite?
I do. My worldwide favorite. So I spent 4 years in Germany, and is called a Ondex Doppelbock. It's
Ooh,
a double
nice.
bock, and it's brewed by monks in Munich, and they've been brewing it since like the 800s. So, yeah, it's really a really good beer. Hard to find in the U.S. But I like darker beers. I like Pilsners. I like Guinness. I like Milk Stouts. I like. So those kind of dark, more full-bodied beers.
Yeah, I didn't even drink beer until 2006. I think my brother was studying abroad in Germany, and he brought a bunch of beer back with him. And it turns out I really like beer. I just like really good beer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so all of the Miller Lights and the Coors Lights and the Natty Ices and stuff like that we had access to in college, it just didn't taste like much to me. So I avoided them. And he came back and brought a lot of those Doppelbocks and big hefts and things like that. And I was like, oh, it turns out I do like beer. And I started learning more about it and started visiting the local craft breweries. And then I went to culinary school at night, and I ended up getting I was teaching cooking classes at Central Market. And most of the teachers at the time would pair their food with wine, and I would pair the food with local beers. And so I started getting to know a lot of the breweries because I was bringing them into Central Market, or maybe they didn't carry them at the time, to get them in so that we could do food and beer pairings with the cooking demonstrations. So that was a lot of fun. And I got to meet a lot of breweries that way. And that's where I met my business partner, Ned Steele. And it's where we came up with the idea for Luck. And then we hired on Lance to be our general manager there. He's our other partner with Cedar Creek Brewhouse. And then Jim, we knew him through the beer industry. So it's a similar path for both of us. German beer has brought us here. So
Yeah, well, we're really excited to get you here and get you open. It's one of the items that I actually ran on in 2015 was bringing restaurants to Farmers Branch. We've been working on it for the last 5 years. And like anything in government, it takes a long time to see anything happen. So I'm really excited that this is going to happen before I term out next year.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're excited about it too. It's I think the location's great. The developer's been very helpful. The diversity of other places that came in has been a really nice mix. Uno Amongavon is opening Red Sticks. She was our neighbor at Trinity Groves when we had Luck there. So known Uno for a long time. And I watched Tiffany Derry on Top Chef. I'm a Top Chef fan. And then her and Uno are good friends. So I've met her a few times through Uno. So it's kind of nice to be neighbors and to be friends with your neighbors already, even before you open up, and especially with Cox Farms Market across the street. And then being able to brew beer in Farmers Branch. Gavin's a good friend of ours, and Three Nations moved down the street to Carrollton. I think I timed it 4 minutes away from us, so we're still pretty close. But you'll find us, when things open back up, you'll find us hanging out in their tap room as well. He's invited us I think every time we've ever had a site visit, he invites us down to the brewery and we go have a few beers with him. So nice for us to bring more beer to Farmers Branch in the Tri-City area. And I've got it. Shout out to Bobby Diaz and Old Muse too, down the street. So he's been great. We're happy to join him in the city, and they both Three Nations and Odd Muse participated in our chili cook-off, which we need to present you guys a big check one day. When we come in.
That's right. Yeah, we're raising funds for MetroCrest Services, so we appreciate that. That's where the check was going to. So thank you for that.
With our chili cook-off proceeds and an anonymous donor, we raised a little over $12,000.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful.
So we're real happy to do that. The chili cook-off has always been it's something we had done for the last 5 years, and we really didn't want to take a year off since we weren't open yet. And so all of our local brewery partners pulled together, and we, on kind of a cold, rainy day at the end of February, we threw a big party and had bands and did it in the parking lot of shops at Mustang Station. And everyone from the Mustang Station apartment complex came out to find out what the ruckus was and where the music was coming from, and people were walking in from all over the place. And we had a great crowd. I mean, Allison was there. I don't know how many people, maybe 500 people there throughout the day, coming and going. So It was a great charity, great cause. We had a great time, and it just felt good being able to walk around and serve food and drink beer in Farmers Branch.
Yeah. Well, we're starting up a new program too we're calling the Denton Drive Live. And Denton Drive is just right down the street from you. And it's with easy walking distance. And we'll have pretty nice, good, popular bands around the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And we really hope to create a partnership and get people walking over to Cedar Creek, or maybe selling your beer on site at the Denton Drive at the music festival. And we're looking at really trying to drive traffic into your area.
And we appreciate that. And that's been something that we've really, we've been so thankful in being able to be embraced by the city and the city council and the mayor and the economic development team. And it's really nice to find that partnership, between the city and the government and local businesses. I'd like to take a second for all of my other restaurateurs and brewery owners that are out there right now that are struggling with 25% capacity or to-go only or delivery and things like that. If you can get out and support them safely, I hope that you will. If you can do curbside pickup rather than a Grubhub delivery service or an Uber Eats or something like that, it saves a lot of money for those restaurants to be able to put it in your trunk themselves rather than to give it to a delivery driver. And then all the local breweries, including Cedar Creek down in 7 Points, are doing beer to go. You can call in your beer order. You can drive up. It's completely contactless. They put it in the back of your truck or they put it in your trunk. They're wiping everything down. They're gloved. They've got face masks. And so when you think about maybe cracking open a cold one, maybe you don't order beer from Instacart, from Kroger. Maybe you go visit a few local breweries and stock up. So
we will do that. And for anybody that feels like they can't drink beer for whatever strange reason, beer is usually a good idea. But Cox Farms Market these are my favorite drinks. I knew y'all were going to pull beer out. I'm actually working right now. But
yeah,
these are, yeah, I know. Coconut flavor is delicious. These are sparkling waters and lemon flavor. And then these teas are amazing. Hot tea, maybe after your beer. So cozy. All of that's at Cox Farms Market. So go to Cox Farms Market and get okra and get mayonnaise and get sparkling water and get whatever you need. And then when Cedar Creek Brewhouse and Eatery opens up, you can go across the street and you can have them cook this food, so you don't have to do it at home. Everyone can stay.
Or you can come to our house.
Doing a lot of cooking at home.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you for participating in this series of Cooking with the Council. I'm so glad for the partnership with Cedar Creek Brewhouse and Eatery. And Councilman Norwood, we thank you for your service and all the years that you've served everyone. So thank you for serving us today with this dish. And guys, thank you. And I know I will see y'all soon when we get back to normal.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody. And thanks to Tom and Kevin, too, for setting all this up.
Yeah. Thanks, Allison, for everything. This was really a fun experience.